Yo, Nakama, how's it going? It's your boy Cozy coming at you with another addition to the beginner's guide series we have for the One Piece card game. Now, we've gone over a lot of things lately in terms of what the keywords are, how to build a deck, what does turn sequencing look like. But now I kind of want to get into something that's a little bit more, I guess, detailed in terms of how to actually excel in the One Piece card game. And that idea is the concept of tempo. So sit back, relax, take some notes, and let's work on some One Piece. So, what exactly is tempo? So, tempo is basically your total resources that are still in the battle, essentially. It's not just your board, but it's your hand and the combination of everything that works with it. So, what exactly makes up tempo in the One Piece card game? It is going to be your life, your hand size, and characters on board. So, if you add all of these together, you'll get a number. That number is your tempo score. And the moment you can eyeball both players' tempo score, you change the entire nature of the game, and the whole world of the game opens up to you tremendously. So, again, how that is calculated is you will count the number of life cards somebody has, count the number of cards in hand, and then you would count the characters on board to give you that tempo score. So keep in mind, not every character counts. There is a quick gotcha here. Not every character on board count towards your tempo. A 1000 power vanilla body that can't trade with anything and can't attack into the board, it's not really a swingable target. It's a body, but it's not doing tempo work for you or your opponent. So now beginners are going to overcount here all the time. So when you're adding up your swingable characters, ask yourself, does this card actually threaten something right now? If not, do not count it towards your tempo score. So mathematically, how does this exactly work? So here's the first big rule. When your tempo and your opponent's tempo are roughly equal, so the tempo score has to be the same, you want to swing into their board and not into their life. So here is a good example of what tempo would necessarily look like on the player's turn. So looking at the Enel's turn first, the Enel has 2 swingable characters, 4 life, and 7 cards in hand. So looking at this particular example, 7 plus 2 plus 4 would give us a total score of 13 tempo score. The reason why we count the Ohm in this particular situation is because Ohm could technically be a swingable character with the Enel's leader effect. So looking at a tempo score of 13 on the Enel, and then we look at the Luffy as an example. They have 6 cards in hand. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 total characters. These 2 would not necessarily count towards it because we do not have a leader effect that places Dawn randomly. So in terms of swingable characters, 1, 2, 4 life brings our tempo score on the side of Enel from 13 compared to Luffy's 12. Now you have to consider the Luffy effect as well with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 Dawn active. These are essentially additional cards in hand because we can use these as counter for Red Green Luffy. So instead of having a tempo score of 12, he actually has a tempo score of 17. So what can you do in this particular situation when it comes to tempo? Well, we're here to explain that now. When it comes to looking at tempo in this particular circumstance, because we have a lower tempo than our opponent, what you would want to do is focus on swinging at life because you need to start trying to burn cards out of hand in order for them to reduce their tempo. So what can you exactly do in this particular situation? Let's go ahead and take a look back at that Enel example. So back to the Enel's turn. The Enel has not used his leader effect yet. So essentially we can have a 6K, a 6K, and a 10K swing. So one of two things can happen, which the first thing is going to be the Enel gaining a Dawn. Beautiful. And then now you can do the math. So if we attach the Dawn here, it's going to be a 6K swing, which burns a Dawn, a 6K swing, which burns a Dawn, and then a 10K swing, which would burn 3 Dawn. Instead, as the Enel player, what you could do is continue to drive more additional resources. So instead of swinging 6 to leader, you can swing 5 and still get the 1 Dawn. You swing 6, get the additional Dawn, attach 11, which now forces them to use the rest of their Dawn and give up a card in hand. So what you can do is also build up your tempo this way. So as the Enel, they do have an Elthor in hand, but I wouldn't necessarily use it because you were only getting rid of one of the Namis. So instead, you would bait a counter. So on the side of the red-green Luffy, now do they give up a Dawn or do they give up a card in hand? Necessarily, both decisions are hard. So in this particular case, they will just give up the free Dawn, swing here again, and then minusing the Sanji for why not. Now they can attach the Dawn here, force 11, which then forces them to use their effect. And now they have to give up a card. The Luffy side of it, our opponent has 7 cards in hand. They have technically 3 swingable characters and 4 life. So 7, 11, 12, 13, 14 is their essential tempo score. Now, looking at the Luffy, we have 4 life, 2 swingable characters, and 6 cards in hand. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So now that we are on the lower end of it, we need to swing into their board. In order to do so, we need to make sure that we are calculating how exactly to do this. Now, technically, our Namis are swingable into the Ohm. So we can count one of these as a potential target. So what can we do in this situation? First thing is you want to attack the board to force your opponent to give up cards in hand. This will reduce their tempo score either by reducing the body on board or a card in hand. And so the Enel can free give a Mamaragan to draw one. So their tempo score has not changed because the Mamaragan draws them a card, which forces us to swing into the Nami again. And in this case, we can let go of the Ohm because in their hand they have a Shura to play out for an additional rush character next turn if they choose so. Tempo score-wise, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Compared to our 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 makes 12. So now we are 1 less. So now we need to try and either force the counter or we clear the board. Thankfully, this Luffy has double attack, so this would force them to give up cards in hand in order to protect it, or they will just take these 2 life to add pressure, but keep their tempo score the same. Thankfully, as a red-green Luffy player, we have Electrical Luna, so we can stun at least this Enel. But we could also be cheeky and do this and this in the same turn, which we're going to do. So we're just going to choose one of them. Cool. We have 5 Dawn. We now force the 7K swing. So now they have no Dawn to use events. So they have a 2K, 1K, 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 1K. So they need 3. On the Enel side, what they are thinking is playing like the Gamma Knife and Elthor to KO either the Luffy or the Sanji next turn. So the Elthor is out of the question. So they would need to give up 3 cards or take 2 to the hand. In this case, we would take 2 to the hand because the tempo score would not change. And now it gives us more options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential attackers and 6 card. Tempo score is 11. 1, 2, 3, 4 life. 1, 2, 3 attackers. So 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 to 10. Now you would still continue to attack with your characters to your opponent's life. Problem: Luffy's a 7k body. So the Reijus are now only requiring 1k encounter. The Enels are now giving up 2k encounter or 4k encounter, so that way they would matter. And the Ashura doesn't really do anything. So to continue building board presence, we will play another Enel. Just grab the other Enel because we are safe for right now. And then we will trash the brick in hand. We will now use leader effect and just force a ton of cards. So 14 to 7. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13k. So the Luffy cannot save themselves from this. So instead of giving up a blocker, they will take the life to maintain their tempo score. And they really can't do anything else. So let's go 11. So this would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So now we have a lethal board essentially. So what we will do is now we count cards in hand. There's 5 cards in hand for the Enel. We have to assume at least half of them are 2k counters. So, and 2 blockers. So we have 11k that they can get out of, and then 2 blockers. So essentially what you would want to do is I like to kind of bait out my Dawn. So this would give up a card, this would give up a card, this goes to 11, and this goes to 11. So we would go 7 to see what they do. This is good information. We now swing 7. They will block. 11. And 11. And there you go. That is a general summary of what tempo is. I know it was a lot of information to go over in this beginner's guide, and I made a couple of misplays during the walkthrough of everything. But if you guys have any questions on tempo, let me know down in the comments below. It was super fun to do this edition of the beginner's guide. I personally love going over tempo and explaining it to people, especially in a real life scenario. Unfortunately, due to limitations, we only have the sim, so it is a little bit harder to explain. But I hope you guys enjoyed this type of content. If you do, let me know by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and ringing that notification bell. And I'll catch you guys in the next upload. Peace and love, Nakama.
Thanks for riding with the vibe. Cozy games every time. Pulling leaders, making plays on the line. Sailing through the grand